Alright, party people, back again. My kernel is done compiling. Okay. And from here, I have to copy over my BZ image, system map, and my .config file. I am not going to worry about the documentation. Alright, I already have that from when I first installed the kernel, so with the first kernel I installed, so it's cool. I don't need to copy over any more documentation. I think it should be all the same, but I'm not really worried about that. So let's say copy verbose. Copy first, then we'll copy your kernel over. Arch x86_64 if you're running 64-bit like me. Okay. Boot BZ image. I'm going to copy that over to my boot directory. What am I going to name it? I don't know. Let's say VM tab. Let's name it lastest. Not latest, lastest. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. Cool. Now let's go ahead and we'll copy over our system map to the boot directory. We'll call this system map 3.81 lastest. Okay? Good? Clear. And we also want to copy over our .config file. Because it's hidden. We're going to name that config 3.81. We'll call that lastest. Okay? Good deal. If we list that out, list out the boot, and we see that our lastest kernel is installed. Cool. So I'm here. There's nothing else I need to move over. So I'm going to jump up, and I'm going to remove quietly the Linux extracted tarball. Okay. I hope I don't lose anybody on this. It's been cutting out a lot during intensive things, so that's what we want to do. Okay. So hopefully nobody lost me. And I want to go into the boot directory. And I did something that I shouldn't have done with the config file. What I did was I copied it over, or I changed it without actually making a backup of this config file. Okay. Now, it's not really important that I do that. Matter of fact, you can delete all these old kernels that you don't even need. Okay. Just make sure you run update grub if you're using grub point. If you're using grub 2. Okay. You can delete all them if you want, but 2, make sure that you run update grub, but before that make sure that your block IDs, you have no dittos in your block IDs. Or you can have dittos, but make sure you don't have the kernels that you erase out of here per se, and mine is down here. Okay. But if I was operating on this here, actually I am operating on this up here. That's a bummer. I'm gonna have to change this other block ID. So basically what I'm trying to say is, right now if I erased the old kernels that I did not need, okay, when I went to go reboot SDA7, because SDA7 and SDA8, those block IDs are the same, I would run into massive errors and I would not be able to reboot SDA7. Okay, and it's because these two devices, or the two operating systems, SDA7 and 8, they share this block ID. Alright, so effectively my kernels, if I erased all the kernels out of here, this would not boot on SDA7. SDA8 would work, yes, but 7 would be effective, right? But make sure you change your block IDs for that. Okay, that's only if you're using grub 2. If you're using grub like 97, or I don't know about Legacy, but I know 97. 97 does not require UUIDs to boot the operating system. Grub 2 does. But I hate Grub 2. But I just learned that, matter of fact, because I did erase my old kernels and I could not boot my operating system, the other two operating systems, because they all shared the block IDs. Alright, but I just copied the kernels back over and everything was fine. But that's that. So what I do want to do is, though, I did edit the config-net file, config-3.8.1-net file. I did edit that without backing it up. So right now, that config file is the same as the lastest config file. Well, I want to change that back to its default. Well, not default, but what it was. Okay? So I'm going to pull up Vi just for this. I'm going to say config-net. Alright? And I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to re-edit. Let's say escape, hit colon for search. What am I going to search for? Wireless extension. Or, remember, case sensitive, wireless extension. Okay? Good. This is the last one here. Okay? And this is the one that needs to be reset. So, let's say I for input, delete. We want to say, after this, space is not set. Okay? Okay. And let me say escape, colon, we're going to write it. Okay. Now let's search for the other one we had was IP wireless. Okay? And that one was not set either. Okay, so let's go back. We'll say I for input. Delete. We're going to say is not set. Okay? And don't forget to throw your pound sign in front of that. Okay? That way it will not read it. And I need to go back. Let me write this. I need to go back to the wireless extension is not set. I for input. I need to throw the pound sign in front of that too so it does not read it. Okay? Alright. Ready, quit. Alright. We should be good. We should be good to go. So, we copied over our system map. Fastest. Alright, we copied over our kernel. Copied over our config from the, what do you call it? From our compilation. Okay? Got that all done. And we should be good. The only other thing is, remember, if you're using Grub 2, on the reboot to update your Grub. And with Grub 2, watch out, because when you're using more than one operating system that is the same. Let me show you this. When I say the same, I don't mean the same as in UUIDs or anything else like that. What I mean is, in my Grub menu, because I have 3 different kernels in this Grub menu, okay, what's going to happen is, when I add those kernels to update Grub, when I add them to the Grub menu, I'm going to get 3 different entries, okay? So it'll say something like dev SDA 1 LFS, right? And then it's going to say dev SDA 2 or SDA 1 LFS. Okay, and then since I have the third kernel, it's going to say dev SDA 1 LFS. Okay, they're all the same. That's what's going to come out in the menu, unless I edit the menu somehow. I don't know, because I haven't really screwed around too much with Grub 2. But that's all three of those entries are going to come out just like that. Okay, and when you have two kernels and you go in sequential order, like when the whole thing comes up as a menu, when you get ready to boot your machine, okay, and you can either click on one or you can click on the second one here, which is named the same as the other one. Okay. When you have two kernels, they kind of go in sequential order, where you go click the second one and it's your newest kernel. Okay. But when you have three kernels, it may not go in sequential order. So the one that you think is your third or your last, in my case, lastest kernel, might be at menu entry 2 or might be at menu entry 1. Okay, so watch out when you reboot that. Now, how do you figure that out? During Grub, right before your machine boots, you can hit the space bar, okay, to pause it, and you can hit E to edit. Okay, just you would hit space to pause it, and then you would hover over top of, hover, or you would select the drive that you want to boot, and you hit E to edit. Okay, and when you edit it, look at it and see which kernel you're actually booting. Okay, because I did run into that error too, that issue. I ended up I was picking the third kernel, but my third kernel wasn't coming out that way. It's probably because I named it lastest. Okay, and lastest in alphabetical order is before net, so maybe that's why the net seemed to switch from second menu entry to third, while lastest went straight to second. That's probably why. But if you named yours maybe not in alphabetical, or if you named yours in alphabetical order, you might not run into that issue. But if you do run into the issue, make sure you're booting the right one by pausing Grub and E for editing. Alright, okay, is that all I have to say? I think that's all I have to say. So, I'm done that. Let's say exit, and let's say exit. Let's log out. Okay, we're off of our LFS machine. Where am I at? DF doesn't work in directory. Okay, I'm out of the CH root environment, and I'm going to reboot my machine, update Grub, and hopefully my problem is solved. So, have a good day. Update your Grub. If you're using Grub 2, update your Grub. Peace out.